The warning signals came from the outer edge of known space. Captain Zethkar stood before the massive holographic display in the Galactic Council chambers, his forearms trembling slightly as he pointed to the red markers scattered across the star map. The assembled representatives from 47 different species watched in growing alarm as he began his report. Council members, what we have discovered defies all our understanding of how intelligent life should develop, Zethkar began, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into the common galactic language. 3 rotations ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected unusual energy signatures from system designation SOL 3847. We sent probe ships to investigate. The hologram shifted to show a small yellow star surrounded by several planets. One world glowed with an ominous blue-green light that made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. The third planet from this star harbors intelligent life. They call themselves humans. Their world is called Earth. Zethkar paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Council members, this planet should not be able to support any form of complex life. Yet these creatures not only survive there, they dominate it completely. Ambassador Tissera of the Gentle Collective raised one of her delicate tentacles. Captain, surely you exaggerate. Our scientists have studied thousands of worlds. Life finds a way to adapt to most conditions. Zethkar's mandibles clicked nervously. Respected Ambassador, please observe the planetary analysis. The display zoomed in on Earth, showing detailed atmospheric and surface readings. The planet's surface is 70% covered in a substance they call water. This liquid is so corrosive, it dissolves most known materials on contact. Our probe ship's outer hull began deteriorating within minutes of exposure to their atmosphere. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Water was known throughout the galaxy as one of the most dangerous universal solvents. But that is not all, Zethkar continued. Their atmosphere contains 21% oxygen. Oxygen, council members. The substance that burns through organic tissue and corrodes metal. These humans breathe this poison gas continuously. Not only do they breathe it, they require it to live. Dr. Yelithina, the council's chief xenobiologist, leaned forward in her specialized life support chair. Her species came from a methane-rich world where oxygen was considered a deadly toxin. Captain, are you certain your instruments were functioning correctly? No known life form can process oxygen without immediate cellular destruction. Our instruments were checked and rechecked, Doctor, but the atmospheric composition is only the beginning of this nightmare world. The display shifted. Again, showing weather patterns and geological activity. The planet experiences regular, catastrophic events that would sterilize most worlds. Massive storms with wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour sweep across the surface regularly. The ground itself moves and shakes, splitting, open to release molten rock that burns at temperatures above 1,000 degrees. Council member Vextall of the Crystal Singers made a sound like breaking glass. Impossible. Any intelligent species would flee such conditions or perish. That is what we thought, Zethkar replied grimly. Instead, these humans have spread across the entire planet. They build their settlements directly in the paths of these catastrophic events. We observed structures built on the edges of active volcanic regions, cities constructed in areas where the ground regularly splits apart, and massive populations living in zones that experience the most violent storms. The chamber fell silent, except for the worried breathing of various species. Ambassador Tissera spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. How do they survive? Dr. Yelithina accessed her portable analysis unit and began reviewing the data streams from the probe ships. What she found made her specialized breathing. Apparatus fog up with condensation from her rapid, panicked respiration. Council members, she said, her voice shaking, I have reviewed the biological scans of these humans. They are unlike anything we have ever encountered. Their physical structure suggests they are apex predators whose evolution was shaped by constant warfare with their environment and possibly with each other. The hologram now displayed a three-dimensional model of human anatomy. The assembled aliens stared in horror at what they saw. Observe their skeletal structure, Dr. Yelithina continued. Their bones are incredibly dense. nearly 4 times denser than the average intelligent species. This suggests they evolved to withstand tremendous physical stress. Their muscular system is equally disturbing. They possess fast twitch muscle, fibers throughout their bodies designed for explosive movements and sustained combat. She highlighted the human cardiovascular system. Most alarming is their circulatory system. They have not one but 2 separate pumps, driving their corrosive blood through their bodies at extremely high pressure. This redundant system suggests their ancestors frequently suffered severe trauma and needed to continue functioning even when injured. Captain Zethkar nodded grimly. Actor, show them the atmospheric readings from their settlements. The display shifted to show air quality measurements from human cities. Their population centers contain numerous airborne toxins that would kill most species within minutes. They have filled their atmosphere with carbon compounds from burning fossil materials, chemical pollutants from industrial processes, and countless microscopic particles. Yet they breathe this poisonous mixture daily with no apparent ill effects. Ambassador Klixar of the Peaceful Union, whose species had never developed weapons more sophisticated than farming tools, spoke in a trembling voice. Surely they must live in constant fear and suffering in such conditions. It is what makes them truly terrifying, Dr. Yelethina replied. Our behavioral analysis suggests they do not consider their environment dangerous. They engage in activities for recreation that would be considered torture by our standards. They deliberately expose themselves to their burning star's radiation for pleasure. They consume liquids and substances that would be classified as industrial. Solvents or poisons by any civilized species. The hologram showed images of humans engaged in various activities. Swimming in the corrosive water, climbing sheer rock faces with no safety equipment, and running long distances across rough terrain. While their star blazed overhead, they appear to thrive on physical stress and danger, Zethkar added. We intercepted communications showing they engage in organized combat sports where they strike each other with enough force to cause serious injury. Then celebrate these encounters. Council leader Prathana, eldest of the assembled representatives, activated her speaking platform. Her ancient voice carried the weight of centuries of galactic diplomacy. Captain Zethkar, Dr. Yelethina, what is your assessment of the threat level these humans represent? Dr. Yelethina consulted her instruments one final time before answering. Council leader, based on their physical capabilities, environmental adaptability, and apparent comfort with violence and danger, I can only conclude that if these humans develop faster than light travel, they will be the most dangerous species the galaxy has ever encountered. They appear to be natural-born warriors who view activities that would kill most of us as simple recreation, Zethkar added. Their entire evolution has been shaped by surviving on a world that actively tries to destroy all life. They have not just survived, they have conquered it. The chamber buzzed with worried conversations in dozens of different languages. As the implications became clear, species that could thrive in such conditions would find the rest of the galaxy's habitable worlds to be paradise by comparison. Council. Leader Preethane called for silence. The Council will consider this information carefully. Captain Zethkar, maintain your monitoring stations, but under no circumstances should you allow these humans to detect your presence. Dr. Yelethina, I want a full analysis of their technological development rate. As the session ended and representatives filed out to contact their homeworlds, none of them noticed the small warning light blinking on the communication console. The humans had just launched their first deep space probe, and it was heading directly toward the outer monitoring stations. The galaxy's most peaceful species were about to get there. First close look at what they believed were the most terrifying creatures ever to evolve. Commander Jake Morrison floated peacefully in the command center of the UES Pioneer, humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. The ship had been traveling for 3 months now, farther from Earth than any human had ever gone. Jake watched through the main viewing screen as distant stars slowly moved past, unaware that alien eyes were studying his every move from ships hidden in the darkness. Commander, we're approaching the asteroid field, reported Navigation Officer Lisa Campbell from her station. Should we alter course to avoid it? Jake smiled and shook his head. Negative, Lisa. This is exactly what we came out here to study. Take us right through the middle of it. nice and slow. 15 million kilometers away aboard the Valiant observation ship Hidden Fang, Captain Zethkar nearly fell from his command. "Perch. They are deliberately flying into a debris field," he whispered to his crew. "These creatures seek out danger for no logical reason." The human ship moved steadily into the asteroid field, its crew calmly working at their stations as massive rocks drifted past their hull. To the watching aliens, this looked like a species so confident in their warrior abilities that they treated deadly obstacles as minor inconveniences. "Jake, I'm reading some interesting mineral compositions on these rocks," called out Science Officer Danny Walsh from his station. "Permission to go outside and collect some samples?" The alien observers froze in terror. Outside meant the vacuum of space, deadly radiation, and crushing cold that could kill any known life form in seconds. "Approved, Danny. Take Amy with you for safety backup." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez began putting on her EVA suit in the equipment bay. The aliens watched in horror as she casually prepared to expose herself to the most hostile environment imaginable. Dr. Yelethina was monitoring from the medical bay of the observation ship, made rapid notes on her instruments. "Observe how calmly they prepare for vacuum exposure," she transmitted to the other alien vessels. "No fear, no hesitation. They treat stepping into the void of space as we would treat walking to another room." Amy finished her suit checks and moved to the airlock. Through their advanced sensors, the aliens could see that the human protective gear was incredibly thin compared to their own environmental suits. What they considered barely adequate protection for a quick emergency, humans were using for extended outside work. The airlock opened, and Amy stepped out into space. She moved with easy confidence, using small thruster jets to navigate between the asteroids. The aliens recorded every movement, their translation computers struggling to understand her casual radio chatter. "Beautiful view out here, Jake. The way the starlight hits these rocks is amazing. Danny, I'm approaching your target asteroid now." "These creatures find beauty in the deadly void," whispered Commander Kirikstal from his observation post. "They are not just warriors. They are warriors who have learned to love battle." Amy reached the target asteroid and began using powered tools to cut samples from the rock. The aliens watched in amazement as she worked with precision and control, handling equipment that generated enough force to shatter their own ship hulls. Then disaster struck. At least from the alien perspective. Amy's suit caught on a sharp piece of rock and tore open along her left arm. The alien sensors detected the breach immediately. Several of the watching crew members fainted as they anticipated watching the human warrior die horribly in the vacuum. Instead, Amy looked down at the tear, made an annoyed sound, and pulled out a small repair kit from her belt. "Got a little rip here, Jake. Give me 30 seconds to patch it." The aliens watched in complete shock as Amy calmly sealed the breach in her suit while floating in vacuum. She showed no panic, no fear, no urgent rushing. She treated a potentially lethal situation as if it were fixing a minor problem with her. Clothing. Patch complete. "Back to work," Amy reported, continuing her sample collection as if nothing had happened. Dr. Yelethina was writing frantically now, her tentacles moving across multiple recording devices simultaneously. They have trained themselves to remain calm and functional even during life-threatening emergencies. This level of battlefield conditioning exceeds anything in our military databases. Meanwhile, inside the ship, the rest of the crew was engaged in what humans call training exercises. The aliens didn't realize this was routine physical fitness and combat practice. To them, it looked like warriors maintaining their killing skills through regular battle rituals. Security Chief Rick Stone was demonstrating hand-to-hand combat techniques to several crew members in the ship's exercise bay. The aliens recorded in horror as humans deliberately struck each other with enough force to break alien bones, then laughed and continued the exercise. "Observe the casual violence," Captain Zethkar transmitted to his fleet. "They practice techniques designed to break joints and crush vital organs, then treat it as entertainment." Rick showed the crew a technique for disarming an opponent, moving with fluid precision as he demonstrated how to break a wrist and disable an attacker in one smooth motion. The watching humans nodded appreciatively and began practicing the move on each other. Their young warriors learn these killing techniques as basic education, noted the alien tactical analyst. Every human appears to be trained in multiple forms of combat. The aliens grew even more disturbed when they observed the ship's medical procedures. Dr. Helen. Carter was treating a crew member who had injured his shoulder during the combat training. The patient sat calmly on the medical table while Dr. Carter prepared her instruments. "This is going to hurt a bit, Pete, but I need to reset this joint properly," she told Communications Officer Pete Williams. The aliens watched in fascination and terror as Dr. Carter manipulated the injured limb. Pete gritted his teeth but made no sound of complaint as the doctor worked. To the aliens, this looked like a warrior receiving battlefield medicine, while remaining completely stoic under pain that would have most species screaming. Their medical practices appeared designed for treating combat injuries while maintaining unit effectiveness, Dr. Yelithina observed. The patient shows no signs of distress, despite obvious pain. These beings have been conditioned to function through injury. The real shock came when engineer Ben Rodriguez detected a minor radiation leak in the ship's power systems. Instead of evacuating the area or calling for emergency assistance, he simply put on additional protective gear and entered the contaminated section. "Radiation leak in Section 7, Ben reported calmly over the radio. "I'll have it fixed in about 20 minutes. The alien observers nearly abandoned their mission in panic. They watched as Ben worked casually in an environment filled with deadly radiation, treating it as routine maintenance. Their own species required massive shielding and robotic equipment to work anywhere near such dangerous energy levels. "How are the radiation levels in there?" Jake asked from the command center. "Oh, about what we expected. Nothing the suit can't handle. Just another day at the office," Ben replied cheerfully. Dr. Yelithina's analysis equipment was overloading from trying to process what she was observing. They have casual exposure protocols for radiation that would be considered weapons grade by most species. Our tolerance for environmental hazards exceeds our worst projections. As the human ship continued through the asteroid field collecting samples and conducting routine scientific observations, the aliens grew more convinced with each passing hour that they were watching the most dangerous species ever to evolve. Every normal human activity was interpreted through the lens of their own fragile biology. When the crew sat down for their evening meal, sharing stories and laughing together, the aliens saw warriors bonding before battle. When they exercised, the aliens saw combat training, and they worked in dangerous conditions. The aliens saw beings so adapted to warfare that they considered lethal environments to be normal working conditions. Commander Kirixtal prepared his daily report to the Galactic Council, his appendages shaking as he dictated his observations. "Day 3 of close observation confirms our worst fears. These humans demonstrate casual competence in conditions that would destroy our finest soldiers. They appear to have no concept of fear and treat potentially lethal situations as routine activities. If these creatures develop faster than light travel, no world in the galaxy will be safe from their expansion." As the UES Pioneer continued its peaceful scientific mission, the crew remained completely unaware that their everyday actions were being interpreted as evidence of humanity's terrifying nature. They went about their work with the routine competence of professionals, never imagining that simply being human was enough to strike terror into the hearts of an entire galactic civilization. Deep within the Galactic Council's Intelligence Center, cultural analyst Vextera worked frantically at her translation computers. The Council had ordered her to decode the human transmissions that their monitoring stations were intercepting from Earth. What she discovered made her wish she had chosen a different career. Council leader Prithana Vextera transmitted through the emergency communication system. "I have completed my analysis of human cultural broadcasts. The situation is far worse than we imagined." The elderly council leader's image appeared on the holographic display, her ancient features showing deep concern. "Explain, analyst." Vextera activated her primary viewing screen, which showed clips of human entertainment that she had been studying for weeks. These humans document their warfare extensively. They appeared to engage in massive continental conflicts involving millions of warriors at once. The screen showed scenes from what Vextera believed were human historical documentaries. Explosions, filled the display as armored vehicles moved across vast battlefields. The aliens didn't realize they were watching fictional movies about World War II. Observed their weapons technology, Vextara continued, highlighting scenes of tanks firing and aircraft dropping bombs. They have developed portable devices capable of leveling entire city structures. Their warriors operate massive war machines that can destroy everything for kilometers in all directions. Council leader Preethana watched in growing horror. Many of these conflicts have they survived. According to their records, they have engaged in hundreds of major wars throughout their history. But most disturbing is that they appear to view these conflicts as learning experiences. They study their battles extensively and develop new weapons based on what they learned from previous wars. The screen shifted to show what Vextara thought was advanced human military training. The council leader watched as human soldiers marched through difficult terrain, carrying heavy equipment and practicing with various weapons. She didn't know she was seeing basic military exercises that most human armies considered routine. Their warriors train constantly, Vextara explained. They can march for days without rest, survive in environments that would kill most species instantly, and maintain fighting effectiveness even when deprived of food and sleep. Every human male appears to undergo this conditioning. The next series of images showed what the aliens interpreted as gladiatorial combat rituals. Human crowds cheered as warriors on a field crashed into each other at high speeds, wearing only minimal protective gear. They engage in ritual combat for entertainment, Vextara said, her voice shaking. These events are broadcast across their entire planet. Millions of humans gather to watch their warriors demonstrate combat techniques. Council leader Preethana leaned closer to her display. Are those humans striking each other for sport? Yes, council leader, they call this football. Warriors line up in formation and charge at each other repeatedly. The crowds cheer loudest when the collisions are most violent. They appear to celebrate warriors who can inflict the most damage on their opponents. The display shifted again, showing boxing matches and mixed martial arts competitions. The aliens watched in fascination and terror as humans struck each other with enough force to cause serious injury, then continued fighting. This is what they call boxing and mixed martial arts, Vextara explained. Individual warriors enter an arena and attempt to defeat each other using only their natural weapons, hands, feet, and body strength. The contests continue until one warrior can no longer fight. They fight until unconsciousness, asked the council leader, or until they surrender. But surrender appears to be considered shameful. Most warriors prefer to continue fighting even when seriously injured. The crowd seemed to respect warriors who refuse to give up more than those who achieve quick victories. The cultural analysis continued with what the aliens believed were human educational programs. Vextara showed footage of survival training shows where humans were placed in hostile environments and expected to find food, shelter, and water using only basic tools. Even their entertainment involves survival training, she noted. They deliberately place individuals in lethal environments and observe how they adapt. Those who demonstrate the best survival skills become celebrities. This suggests their entire culture revolves around preparing for warfare and conquest. Meanwhile, back aboard the UES Pioneer, the crew continued their peaceful scientific mission, completely unaware that their routine activities were being analyzed by terrified aliens. Captain Jake Morrison was reviewing the latest batch of exploration data when Science Officer Danny Walsh approached with exciting news. Jake, we've discovered something incredible in the next system. There are signs of artificial structures on the fourth planet. They look old, maybe abandoned, but definitely not natural formations. Jake's eyes lit up with curiosity. Alien ruins? Set course immediately. This could be humanity's first evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. The alien observers monitoring their communications interpreted this excitement very differently. To them, it sounded like human warriors had detected potential targets for conquest and were eager to investigate new territories to claim. Dr. Yilithana continued her behavioral analysis from the hidden observation ship. She had been studying human medical procedures and was deeply disturbed by what she had learned. Council members, she transmitted to the emergency session, I have analyzed their medical practices in detail. These humans perform what they call surgery on conscious patients. They cut into living tissue while the patient remains awake and aware. The assembled alien representatives made sounds of distress in dozens of different languages. The patient receives only local numbing agents, then lies still while the medical warrior cuts them open and repairs internal damage. The patients show remarkable calm during these procedures, often engaging in casual conversation with their surgeons. On her display, she showed footage of Dr. Helen Carter performing routine surgery on a crew member. The aliens watched in horror as she made precise incisions while the patient talked and joked, showing no signs of the terror that any alien would feel in such circumstances. Furthermore, Dr. Yelithina continued, they regularly inject themselves with weakened versions of deadly diseases to build immunity. They deliberately expose their young to dangerous pathogens as a routine health practice. The council members struggled to understand how any species could survive such medical practices, let alone thrive with them. Ambassador Tessara asked the question that was troubling everyone. Dr. Yelithina, in your professional opinion, what kind of species develops such extreme medical procedures? Only a species that is constantly engaged in warfare, the doctor replied grimly. Their medicine is designed around treating combat injuries quickly and getting warriors back into battle as soon as possible. The casual attitude toward pain and injury suggests they view physical damage as a normal part of daily life. Back on the human ship, Engineer Ben Rodriguez was teaching the younger crew members about Earth's history during their off-duty time. The aliens listened to his casual discussion of natural disasters, wars, and diseases that had shaped human development. The thing about us humans, Ben said cheerfully, is that we're really good at adapting to bad situations. Ice age, plague, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. We just figure out how to deal with it and keep going. The alien listeners interpreted this as a species that had been forged by constant warfare against impossible odds and had learned to view catastrophic events as minor challenges to overcome. Communications Officer Pete Williams was sharing stories about Earth sports with his colleagues. He described mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, and extreme skiing with the enthusiasm that most species reserve for discussing art or philosophy. There's nothing quite like hanging off a cliff face, eh? 1,000 meters above the ground with just a rope keeping you alive, Pete said with a grin. Really makes you feel alive, you know? The aliens recording this conversation marked it as evidence that humans sought out deadly situations for psychological stimulation. They concluded that humans had become so adapted to danger that they required constant risk to maintain mental health. Cultural analyst Vextara compiled all the data into her final report for the Galactic Council. Her conclusions were terrifying. Council members, based on my analysis of human culture, I can only conclude that we are dealing with a species that has weaponized everything, including their own entertainment, medicine, and education. They appear to view violence, danger, and physical suffering as normal parts of existence. They train their young from childhood to survive in hostile conditions, engage in combat sports for recreation, and treat medical procedures that would traumatize our species as routine healthcare. Every aspect of their culture appears designed to produce the most effective warriors possible. The Council faced a terrible decision. The humans were developing space technology rapidly and would soon be capable of interstellar travel. The question was no longer whether humanity posed a threat to galactic civilization, but whether any species in the galaxy could survive contact with these terrifying creatures from the death world called Earth. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been running for 6 straight hours. Representatives from every major species sat in their specialized environmental chambers, their faces showing various expressions of fear and disbelief. The holographic displays around the chamber showed live feeds from the human exploration ship and analysis data that grew more disturbing by the hour. The situation has reached critical status, announced Council Leader Preethana, her ancient voice carrying across the chamber. Our observation teams report that the humans are now actively seeking to expand beyond their home system. Captain Zethkar activated his report display, showing the UES Pioneer's current trajectory. 3 days ago, the human vessel detected artificial structures in a nearby system. Instead of approaching with caution as any sensible species would, they immediately set course to investigate. They appear to view unknown alien technology as an opportunity rather than a threat. Dr. Yelithina added her analysis to the display. Their communications indicate excitement about what they call first contact possibilities. They do not seem to understand that encountering unknown species could be dangerous. This suggests either supreme confidence in their combat abilities or a complete lack of fear regarding potential threats. The chamber buzzed with worried conversations as the implications became clear. The humans were actively seeking contact with other species, and they seemed to have no concept of the danger this represented. Meanwhile, aboard the EU's Pioneer, Colonel Matt Davis was briefing his team on the upcoming planetary survey mission. The military officer had been assigned to the exploration ship to handle any security concerns that might arise during their deep space mission. "All right, everyone, we're approaching the planet with the artificial structures," Matt announced to the assembled crew. "Standard survey protocols apply. We'll establish a secure perimeter, set up base camp, and begin systematic exploration of the ruins." The aliens listening to this transmission interpreted it very differently. They heard a military commander planning an invasion and occupation of alien territory. Terms like secure perimeter and base camp sounded like conquest terminology to species that had never developed aggressive military doctrines. Science. Officer Danny Walsh was equally excited about the mission possibilities. "Matt, the mineral scans show some really interesting formations down there. We might want to do some controlled blasting to access the deeper structures." "Controlled blasting approved," Matt replied. "We'll use standard demolition charges too. Clear access routes. Ben, make sure we have enough explosive materials for a full excavation operation." The alien observers nearly panicked at this casual discussion of using explosives on an alien world. To them, it sounded like the humans were planning to use weapons of mass destruction to reshape the planet's surface for their own purposes. Dr. Rachel Brooks, the team's terraforming specialist, was reviewing the planetary data and making notes about potential colonization procedures. She worked with the same calm efficiency that characterized all human activities, unaware that her routine planning was being interpreted as preparation for planetary conquest. "The atmosphere is mostly nitrogen with some trace gases," she reported. To the science team, "We'll need breathing apparatus for surface operations. But the environmental conditions are well within normal parameters for human activity." "What about long-term habitability?" asked Engineer Ben Rodriguez. "Oh, we could definitely make this world suitable for human colonization," Rachel replied cheerfully. "We'd need to adjust the atmospheric composition, maybe seed some Earth-compatible plant species, and establish water reclamation systems. Standard terraforming procedures, really? Give us about 50 years and we could have a thriving human colony here?" The aliens recording this conversation were horrified. Rachel was casually discussing completely remaking an alien world to suit human needs. Two species that had spent millions of years carefully adapting to their home worlds. The idea of deliberately changing a planet's entire ecosystem was beyond comprehension. Dr. Yelithina transmitted her analysis to the council. They discussed planetary modification as if it were routine engineering. These humans appear to believe they can remake any world to suit their needs. They show no respect for existing ecosystems or geological stability. The situation grew worse. When the aliens intercepted human educational broadcasts from Earth, teacher Jennifer Lewis was conducting what humans called a field trip with a group of children. The aliens watched in disbelief as young humans practiced emergency evacuation procedures. "Okay, children, when you hear the alarm, remember to stay calm and move quickly to the designated assembly area," Jennifer instructed a group of 10-year-old students. "If there's a fire, stay low to avoid smoke. If there's an earthquake, get under your desks until the shaking stops." The alien observers watched these human children practice survival techniques that would challenge trained adult soldiers. Of most species, the youngsters calmly rehearsed responses to scenarios that would send most alien populations into mass panic. Even their offspring received combat training, reported the alien cultural analysts monitoring the educational broadcasts. Human children. learn to function during catastrophic events as part of their basic education. They begin warrior conditioning at an extremely young age. The evidence continued to mount when the aliens observed human extreme sports broadcasts. Professional athlete Kevin Murphy was participating in what humans called free solo rock climbing, scaling a vertical cliff face hundreds of meters high with no safety equipment. The key to free solo climbing, Kevin explained to the camera, while hanging from a tiny handhold, is mental control. You have to push fear completely out of your mind and trust your body's abilities. One moment of doubt, and you're dead. The aliens interpreted this as advanced warrior training where humans deliberately practiced fighting in environments where any mistake would be fatal. They concluded that human warriors regularly engaged in training exercises that had real death. As a potential consequence, back on the Pioneer, the crew was making final preparations for their planetary landing. Chief Medical Officer Helen Carter was preparing her field medical kit, including supplies for treating everything from minor injuries to major trauma. "Matt, I'm packing the emergency surgery kit in case we run into any problems down there," she told Colonel Davis. "I've got everything we need for battlefield medicine." Aliens monitoring this conversation heard a medical warrior preparing for combat casualties. They didn't understand that. Ellen was simply being prepared for any accidents that might occur during routine exploration activities. Communications. Officer Pete Williams was testing the emergency communication systems that would allow the landing. Team to stay in contact with the ship. He ran through various disaster scenarios, checking backup systems and emergency protocols. "If we lose primary communications, we fall back to the emergency beacon system," Pete explained to his team.
Yes.
"If that fails, we use the portable transmitters.
Yes.
And if everything else goes wrong, we've got the survival radios that will broadcast our location for search and rescue." To the aliens, this sounded like a military unit preparing for extended combat operations, where communication systems might be destroyed by enemy action. They didn't realize that humans simply planned for multiple backup systems because they had learned from centuries of exploration that unexpected problems always occurred. The breaking point came when the aliens intercepted communications about human disaster preparedness programs. Emergency Management Director Ashley Green was conducting a training exercise for civilian populations on Earth. Remember, in any emergency situation, the most important thing is to remain calm and follow established procedures. Ashley broadcast to millions of humans. Whether it's a natural disaster, industrial accident, or any other crisis, humans have survived by working together and adapting to changing conditions. The aliens heard this as a species-wide military briefing where human commanders were preparing their entire population for warfare. They concluded that every human civilian was also a potential soldier ready to fight when needed. Admiral de Silcom compiled all the observation data into a final threat assessment for the Galactic Council. His conclusions were stark and terrifying. "Council members, we are not dealing with a normal civilization. We are observing a species that has turned their entire society into a war machine. Their children train for combat from early childhood. Their entertainment consists of simulated warfare. Their medicine is designed for battlefield treatment. Their exploration involves using explosives to reshape alien worlds. Most disturbing of all, they show no fear of the unknown. They actively seek out dangerous situations and alien contact. If these humans develop faster than light travel, they will spread across the galaxy like a plague of warrior conquerors." The Council faced an impossible decision. They could authorize a preemptive strike against humanity before they developed interstellar capability, or they could risk allowing the most dangerous species in galactic history to spread among the stars. The vote was scheduled for the next day. The largest military fleet in galactic history hung silently at the edge of the Sol system. 50,000 warships from dozens of different species formed a massive wall of destructive power, each vessel armed with weapons capable of destroying entire planets. Admiral Kirkstel stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical displays that showed humanity's small exploration ship continuing its peaceful journey, completely unaware of the armada preparing to eliminate their entire species. "Fleet Commander's report ready," announced his tactical officer. "Planet killer weapons are charged and targeted. We can sterilize their entire system within minutes. Admiral Kirkstall's forearms trembled as he prepared to give the order that would prevent humanity from spreading across the galaxy. 3 months of observation had convinced him that humans were the most dangerous species ever to evolve. Every piece of evidence pointed to a warrior race preparing for galactic conquest. Then an unexpected transmission reached the fleet. Unknown vessels. This is Captain Julie Martinez of the EU's Harmony. We detect your ships at the edge of our system. Welcome to Sol. We have been hoping to meet other intelligent life for so long. Would you like to come aboard our ship for coffee? In conversation, a simple message caused chaos throughout the alien fleet. 50,000 military commanders tried to decode what must surely be an elaborate trap. The word coffee didn't translate into any known language, leading most to assume it was some kind of weapon or poison. They're inviting us aboard their vessel, reported the communications officer, his voice shaking. This must be an attempt to capture our command staff. Admiral Kirkstall studied the message for several minutes. According to all their intelligence, humans were ruthless warriors who saw other species as potential threats or conquests. Yet this message sounded almost friendly. Admiral called his science officer. The human vessel is approaching slowly, with no weapons powered. Their shields are down, and they're broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. This made no sense to the alien commander. If humans were the galactic threat they appeared to be, why would they approach a massive fleet without weapons or defenses? Against every military protocol he had ever learned, Admiral Kirkstall made a decision that would change galactic history forever. I will meet with these humans, he announced to his shocked crew. If this is a trap, at least we will learn their tactics before we destroy them. 3 hours later, Admiral Kirkstall found himself aboard the human ship, surrounded by his most elite bodyguards and wearing full protective gear. The humans who greeted him were nothing like he had expected. Captain Julie Martinez was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and laugh lines around her eyes. She approached the heavily armed alien delegation with a genuine smile and outstretched hand. Welcome aboard the Harmony, Admiral. I'm Julie Martinez. We're so excited to finally meet another intelligent species. Can I offer you something too? Drink. We have coffee, tea, water, or juice. The aliens tensed, certain they were being offered various poisons. Admiral Kirkstall's translator worked frantically to decode the human's casual tone and friendly body language. Welcome us, he asked carefully through his communication device. Of course, Julie replied, looking puzzled. This is the most important day in human history. First contact with alien life. We've been dreaming about this moment for centuries. Beside her stood Ambassador Chris Johnson, a tall man with kind eyes who had been specially trained for first contact scenarios. Next to him was Dr. Angela Smith, a xenobiologist whose excitement was barely contained as she studied the alien visitors. Admiral, if I may ask, said Ambassador Chris, why do you have so many ships? Are you exploring this region of space? Question was asked with such innocent curiosity that Admiral Kirkstall found himself struggling to explain. How could he tell these seemingly peaceful beings that he had come to destroy their entire civilization? The breakthrough moment came when Communications Officer Pete Williams accidentally knocked over his coffee cup, cutting his hand on the broken ceramic. The aliens watched in fascination, expecting to see the human enter a berserker rage or demonstrate the legendary human combat response to injury. Instead, Pete looked down at the small cut, made an annoyed sound, and said, "Ah, clumsy me. Sorry." "About that, Julie. I'll clean this up." Dr. Angela Smith quickly brought over a first aid kit and began cleaning the wound. Pete chatted cheerfully while she worked, making jokes about his clumsiness and asking the aliens about their homeworlds. "Does it hurt much?" Admiral Kirkstall asked, genuinely curious. Pete looked surprised by the question. "This little scratch?" "Nah, it's nothing. I've had paper cuts worse than this." It's a casual dismissal of what would be a serious injury to most. Alien species began to plant seeds of doubt in the Admiral's mind. These humans didn't seem like the savage warriors his intelligence reports had described. Dr. Angela Smith began sharing human culture with the aliens, showing them art, music, and literature that had been created throughout human history. She explained how Earth's challenging environment had shaped human development, making them resilient and adaptable. You see, Admiral, we evolved on a world that was constantly testing us, Angela explained as she showed images of Earth's diverse environments. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, storms. We had to learn to adapt and survive, but we also learned to work together and help each other. She displayed human art showing cooperation during disasters, communities rebuilding after destruction, and people helping strangers in need. We're not conquerors, Admiral. We're explorers. We've always looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone in the universe, finding out that we're not. It's the most wonderful thing that could have happened to us. The aliens slowly began to realize the magnitude of their misunderstanding. Human combat training was actually preparation for surviving on a dangerous world. Their weapons technology was developed to protect themselves from natural disasters and wild animals. Their warrior culture was really a survival culture that emphasized helping others and working together. Admiral Kyrkstall's understanding completely shifted when young engineer Mark Thompson showed him human tools and technology. Mark explained with enthusiasm how humans used controlled explosions for mining, construction, and space exploration. We used these charges to clear rock for building foundations, or to create quarries for gathering materials, Mark explained cheerfully. On Earth, if you want to build something big, you usually have to move some rocks first. The aliens had interpreted this as weapons technology for planetary destruction. In reality, it was construction equipment. Dr. Helen Carter joined the conversation and began explaining human medicine. She showed the aliens how human surgical techniques had developed to deal with injuries from their harsh environment, and how human pain tolerance had evolved as a survival mechanism. We're actually pretty fragile compared to our environment, Helen explained. So we had to get really good at fixing ourselves when things went wrong. Most of our medical advances came from trying to help people who got hurt in accidents or natural disasters. The revelation continued as the humans shared more of their culture. Sports weren't gladiatorial combat training. They were games that helped humans stay physically fit and learn teamwork. Military training existed to protect human settlements from natural dangers and wild animals, not to prepare for galactic conquest. Admiral Kyrkstall found himself face-to-face with the most embarrassing mistake in galactic military history: humanity. Wasn't a species of terrifying warriors preparing for conquest? They were perhaps the most peaceful species he had ever encountered, whose only crime was being incredibly tough due to evolving on a world that would kill most other life forms. The Admiral made the most difficult transmission of his career to the Galactic Council. Council Leader Prithana, this is Admiral Kyrkstall. I'm ordering the immediate stand-down of all fleet assets. We have made a grave error in our assessment of humanity. He paused, watching as Captain Julie Martinez offered him another cup of the beverage humans called coffee, her face showing nothing but genuine kindness and curiosity. These humans are not the galactic threat we believed them to be. They are explorers and scientists whose only desire is to learn about the universe and make friends with other intelligent species. They appear to have no concept of the fear they inspire in other species simply by existing. The alien fleet began its withdrawal while first contact protocols were established. Humanity would be welcomed into galactic civilization, though with careful guidelines about how to interact with more fragile species. Captain. Julie Martinez completed her log entry for the day that changed everything. Personal log, Captain Julie Martinez. Today we made first contact with an alien species. Admiral Kyrkstall and his people seemed terrified of us at first, which was puzzling. Apparently, we're much stronger and tougher than most galactic species, something we never realized. We'll need to be very careful in future interactions to avoid accidentally hurting our new friends. But this is still the most wonderful day. In human history, we're not alone in the universe, and it turns out the galaxy is full of people just waiting to be our friends.